I wanna try and take in all the highs, embrace them for more than a moment's time. I want you, please don't move when I push you away. I know I contradict myself some days, but will you ride the lows with me?
Welcome to Mental Health News Radio. I am your host, Kristin Sunanta Walker. Our goal is to help discussions about mental health be a regular part of your daily life, no different than discussions about physical health. Mental illness can be a topic of discussion under the umbrella of mental health, along with so many other topics. This show is the original program on mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com. Our network of shows are played in over 180 countries and cover more topics under that umbrella than you can possibly imagine. We were talking about mental health long before it became cool and popular to talk about, and thank goodness it has become so popular. We have incredible guests, advocates, patients, experts, people. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy our intro music, a song named Lows, written by Aubrey Toon. You can find her music at www.aubreytoone.com.
That night when I started praying, I cried, will you ride the lows with me? Will you ride the lows with me? When I'm down, my vision gets blue.
Hey, listeners, I am on with one of my dear friends, also a podcaster on the network and a great source of support to me personally and professionally, as to many, many other people that he supports. He's going to be doing a new series with me on Mental Health News Radio about men and mental health. So Joe Mitsch, thanks so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now, if you've listened for a while, you've heard him on other shows with me. We go deep.
Yes, we do.
And we both have been dealing with and have throughout the course of our lives dealt with very narcissistic people, and they could be narcissistic behaving because they are in active addiction or they're in recent recovery from addiction, or they could just be full-blown narcissists that also have an addiction problem.
Yes, all of the above.
Right. And what we're dealing with here is I'm an extremely sensitive person, whether you believe in the term empath or not, listeners, doesn't matter. I know that's what I am. And that is what Joe is also.
Joe is starting to believe that, mainly because you keep telling me that. So
I know,
it does make sense.
Yeah, I don't fluctuate it on anymore. I did for a while, and I stopped telling men that they were that because my picker was so still broken. I call it flea and tick syndrome. When you're around a lot of narcissists and you still haven't kind of gotten to enough of a healing place that you sniff them out a lot quicker, because if you're an empath, they're gonna buzz around you. It's just that you start having fewer of them around at the same time, like you deal with one at a time, and then you sniff it out much more quickly, but you still get into it because that's what happens with empaths and narcissists.
You're right. And it almost seems like we are attracted to them, or they are attracted to us. And then something happens when those two energies combined that I don't know if one gets stronger, one gets weaker. Like, that's the part I'm trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you what, I was telling this total sociopath that he was an empath and a former NFL player. And everybody was warning me. This is years ago, ad nauseum. I talked about him on my show and took all of his shows off of my podcast when I realized, oh my God. And that's when I went, I will never tell another man until I'm at a different place in my healing that he's an empath. But now I absolutely know that I know what I'm doing now. Because you get fleas and ticks when you're in these relationships. Some of their behavior kind of rubs off on you, and you're also triggered and traumatized from the relationship And one thing I've noticed, and I promise I'll shut up and you can talk, Joe, but one thing I've noticed for me is that what happens with me is I start hanging out with somebody, and then I will sort of, not even sort of, I kind of embody who they are, what they're about. I feel what they're feeling, all of those things. And if I spend regular time with them, like on a daily basis, I really have that happen. And then that causes me to kind of have an issue with figuring out, oh, this is a really unhealthy person. So usually I'll have like some kind of physical symptom that makes it so that I can't hang out with them anymore. And then, and then I start waking up to, oh my God, okay. And then I get away from them, which is never fun. But some empaths don't do that. They don't do that full embody. They feel it in different ways. I happen to be one that I just start feeling their stuff.
Well, I think some are more aware of what's going on. I like you said, you're at a different point now to where you can realize things better than you did, when you first started this journey.
Right.
So
like when I was born.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I've experienced narcissistic people my whole life, starting with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's funny because obviously when I'm 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I can't identify him as a narcissist,
Right.
but the behaviors become normal to me and they become part of my everyday life. So essentially you get used to that. Like if a child gets beat every day, that becomes normal, even though it's not. So those behaviors to me, from the man that I was supposed to idolize and emulate, these behaviors came normal. And I literally felt like I was two people growing up. Like, well, this is what I'm supposed to be, but I want to cry. I want to run to my mother. Like, I never felt like I knew who I was because I felt I was getting mixed messages. Like who I'm supposed to be, what a man is supposed to be, but who I am does not line up. And it was very confusing for me growing up.
Oh my God. Yeah. Same here. Yeah. And figure out what I wanted to be and figure out. And my mom wanted me to be this girly girl and into frilly this and dresses and lots of other stuff that I've talked about on shows. And just FYI, my mom and I have worked through a lot of our stuff and we are in communication and with a lot of boundaries, and it's at a healthy place. It certainly wasn't for quite a while, which I've discussed. But my father, my biological father, just straight up never going to have a healthy relationship. Wouldn't want to, child molester. Not going to have a healthy relationship.
We have that in common also.
Yep.
So
what do you think about the flea and tick thing because when you're feeling how somebody else is, you can kind of pick up their behaviors. And I think of this with our friend Chaz, our mutual friend Chaz.
I love Chaz.
I know. Hi, Chaz. And he's terrific. He's talked about this on shows, so it's no big deal, but he has a form of Tourette's. And he has told me that when he gets around other people that have Tourette's, they just start ticking all over the place. So we do this as human beings. We mirror other people. I mean, it's not just an empath thing. That is what a lot of people do. So if he's around someone and they have one of the symptoms of Tourette's, he'll start doing that too. And then it's like a mess, right?
Well, I think there's a comfort there. There's okay, I don't have to hide who I am at this point. I can just be me. So, I mean, does that fall into kind of what we're talking about here?
It does, absolutely. But if you're trying to maintain like professionalism, what you think professionalism is, like you're on a movie set, like Chaz has often been, and you don't want your tics to come out, and you're around another person that's also on that set and their tics are coming, like it makes it all that much harder to sort of like keep it together.
Yes, I understand that.
So in that vein, when you're an empath and you get around an extremely toxic behaving person and you feel what they're doing, what they're what's going on with them, you can pick up shite behavior yourself, or I have. How about you?
Yes. How I deal with it is different, I think, with the individual. Like
Yes.
I've been around people and I've gotten upset. I've been around people and I've gotten empathetic. It's weird, and that's what I'm trying to figure out now is why different people cause me to have different reactions and affect me so differently. Because you want to say like, oh, narcissist, I'm going to react like this, but you don't, because it's almost unique and different for every single individual that I come in contact with, and that in a sense is very confusing for me because
Yes.
you want to believe that you can handle it and, oh, I've been in this experience before, so I know what to do. But then your body and your mind respond differently to that individual. And it's like I'm starting the whole process over, like, oh, I got to figure this out again.
And then there's also the shame, which can often come from the community for narcissistic abuse survivors. Oh, another one.
Mm-hmm.
As if
Mm-hmm.
you're the one that's, I mean, I get it, folks. I get it that you want to see what you call progress in your life, and you don't want to keep getting into a car and drive that car when the radiator always drops out, right?
Yes.
But it's not that black and white when it comes to people.
No. No, it is not.
Especially when
No.
they pursue you. Because yes, do empaths early in their empathness that don't really know anything and have had a lot of childhood trauma, do they run to narcissists? Absolutely. I don't run to these people anymore. I absolutely, if I even get a one red flag, I'm like, they run to me.
Well, on some level, we are either attracted to them or they are attracted to us. And the problem for me is when the actual caring about that person comes in,
Yes.
because my mindset instantly, not, oh, I'm going to help and save this person, but, oh, I want to be there for this person. This person's going through this. I can help them through. Like, I want to think that my experience in life allows me to communicate and help somebody through their hard time, until I realize very quickly that that person is either taking advantage of me, that person is either lying to me, that person just frankly doesn't give a crap about me. And then I'm stuck in a position where I've put myself in because I thought I was doing good for this individual, which essentially in the beginning made me feel good, but now it's completely backfired and now I'm trapped in a corner.
Yes, exactly. I think where I've gotten in it, and then it's no like, oh, you should get here. I don't mean it in that way at all. I'm just literally talking about my experience because it's so personalized for each individual.
Yes.
I've gotten to a place where I've had this happen. I know this road. I know how it goes. I know all their stages of loving you and everything's great about you. And then all of a sudden everything's shite about you. And then they discard, I've been through all that stuff and I've had it happen. I had it happen as a kid with my own family. So I know this road. I have gotten to that place where I don't do that anymore, where I don't invest enough to care like that anymore, thank God. And for me, that was important. I'm not saying that's important for anybody else or that's even a stage for anyone else, but I can, the minute that I go, okay, enough proof, I get it. I see a little bit of the voodoo that was happening. And by the way, if you want to know how narcissistic personality works, look at our president of the United States, Donald Trump. Just saying, he's a classic example. Woo people in, then when they tell him what he doesn't want to hear, now he's going to trash them and try to destroy their life. That's very typical narcissistic response. And again, that's my opinion, doesn't have to be anyone else's. But once I now figure it out, it's really easy for me to go, don't care. I do not put my heart anymore. And I used to, believe me, but I do not do that anymore. Thank God.
Well, it reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Homer kept grabbing the donut that was electrocuted. Eventually, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
You're going to learn that hurts. But unfortunately, at least with me, it has taken years and years and years with multiple different relationships, male, female, coworkers, family members, whoever, for me to finally get to the point where I not only do I say I don't want to do this anymore, I tell myself I can't help this person. I can't help this person, especially if it means putting myself at risk. And that's where I'm at now. I just don't want to put, because I've talked to you personally about this, and I don't put too much of my personal life out there, but I mean, I had a relationship in my life where I was bedridden for almost 10 months.
Yeah.
I could not get out of this funk that I was in. And now looking back on it, I put myself in the situation. I allowed this individual to take advantage. I allowed this individual to hurt me. I allowed this individual to use me. And it affected me so much because in my head, I still on some level did not want to hurt this individual until I just finally had enough.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens. I mean, I signed up last year to work out every day with a neighbor, and it was fantastic. Now, did we agree on stuff, and did she have her quirks, and good God, do I have mine? Absolutely. But that's all we signed up for. The boundaries were very clear. We're not best buds. We don't need to hang out every day, but we work out. That's what we focused on, was doing a workout. And it was great. So when I moved away from that situation, I looked for another, situation, because it's easier for me with a workout buddy. Now I'm going to get over it and just do it myself. Okay. Because of this, which maybe that was part of the lesson. But so I found one more than willing to do that. And the sheer act of being around them and discovering who they really are, which I used to try to heal those wounds. And I know now I don't do that. I get disgusted. Like narcissists used to smell like candy, cake, popcorn, pizza, everything that smells good to me. Oh my God. And now they smell like caca. Okay. So I'm starting to smell the dung, and guess what happens?
It's your fault.
I get to the point where I can't even walk. I get plantar fasciitis so bad, which I've never had in my life. I really can't walk. So thank you, universe, for protecting me, because the weight of carrying all of their stuff that they won't deal with on their own at all, that they abject, all responsibility goes on everybody else around them, which is why people leave them constantly. And they kind of have to have people pay to be friends. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But this thing that happens, it physically drains you in some way or another, like you not being able to get out of bed, me can't walk. And the minute I stopped being around them, I feel like, oh my God, I'm coming back.
Like a weight is lifted. And I find that when the relationship ends, regardless of what the reason is, we are always at fault. It always gets turned.
Because they are the supreme victims of all time.
Yes, they play the victim role perfectly. It's like, well, you did this, this, and this. Well, I did this, this, and this after I endured this, this, and this for months and months and months. And it's like I don't remember what the quote is, but it's like you push somebody to their breaking point, and then they react, and then they're the problem. They're the problem. Right. So, I mean, that happens to me all the time. So I'm the bad guy in a lot of people's story, but maybe that's because I have a problem communicating what's going on. I allow too much to happen because I think if I keep quiet, if I just let them get through this, everything will be okay. And then they'll realize that I'm doing my best, but that never happens. So essentially what I do is I teach people that it's okay to treat me poorly.
Right.
Because, and in the end, it really is on me. So I need to get to the point where you're at, where
it's a freaking journey, my friend. Yeah.
Exactly.
I didn't take anything that's my fault from this latest one, and I don't, because the laundry list of horror show that has gone on and that I've put money out towards, that I have put up with. As an example, I go somewhere, I'm told by this person that there is a dangerous dog that has killed other people's animals at this location. So of course I'm told this. And then I experienced the dog charging my horse, the dog charging me and my horse after having an incident where, all this stuff is documented. I've received it in text messages. A notice was sent out to everyone that this person's dog is not allowed to be off leash. It's not allowed to be around horses. Because I pulled out of that relationship, I just received a message the other day that now this person's dog is allowed to be off leash. And what's funny about that is, I don't care because I'm never going to be around it. And because this stuff has been put in writing by the owner of this place, she is now in so much legal trouble if anything happens with this dog. I hope that nothing happens because I don't want anything to happen, but also how ignorant.
Yes.
My God, the level of ignorance, and all to just whatever, have another sycophant kiss her ass or whatever. That's the kind of stuff that they do, that is just so dumbfounding and so stupid and often illegal, like asking me to drink and then drive around with them drunk because they like to do that every day.
Well, we've talked about that. We've talked about that before too. If you co-sign their behavior, then you're essentially, you're endorsing it.
Yeah, and I didn't.
Exactly, which makes them feel better about themselves. But because you didn't, you become the bad guy.
100%. 100%.
Well, I've been in the field of recovery forever. So that is stereotypical behavior right there.
Long-term alcohol abuse and marijuana, which, I'm of the, it should be legal. It helps people tremendously that have severe pain, cancer, all kinds of things. However, and I'm sorry, listeners, if you hear my dogs barking, can't help it. We're all working from home mostly. But, weed is a whole other thing. But when you combine long-term alcohol with smoking weed the minute you get up in the morning all day long until you go to bed and add the alcohol, that's, what I'm saying. That's somebody that doesn't want to deal with themselves or their life.
Well, I have a lot of firsthand experience in this from somebody who has battled with drugs and alcohol for over 2 decades. For me personally, alcohol to me is what brought me to my absolute lowest point. Right. I am in agreement with you about marijuana. I'm also exploring other means to help with depression and anxiety. I'm looking, I don't know if you've ever heard of ayahuasca, but
ayahuasca and psychedelic. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that I'm starting to get very interested in. I have friends that I respect greatly, who have gone through very similar journeys that I have with abuse, physical and sexual, and then they turn to alcohol and drugs. And I look at them, and again, everybody's success, your level of success can only be defined by you, but I just see them being happy today. Yeah. And to me, with everything I've gone through, look, I've accepted the fact that I may never be a millionaire. And for years growing up, that is what I was told the definition of success is, what your bank account looks like. Yep. And to try to obtain that every day and not have any idea how to do it is very depressing. So for me right now, my definition of success in life is being a good father and being happy. And that is something that is, I don't want to say easy, But let me tell you, chasing happiness is a lot easier than chasing, 7 figures in a bank account.
Oh my God. Yes, isn't it? Because what I was raised to believe, and I'm not blaming my mom for this because this is what she was taught and it's what worked for her. And so of course, in what how she could do at the time with all the trauma she'd went through, hers was getting your college education, having a degree. That is the thing that you must chase. Well, because of my own FU towards authority, and I was severely depressed and in massive trauma, that was not going to work for me. So I did the same thing as you. You know what? I'm going to chase, actually, I don't even like to say it that way anymore. I am going to embody happiness as much as I possibly can. And that is more than enough for me.
Yeah, I like that better, actually. I
We don't
will
need to
stop using the
chase.
word
We don't
chase.
need to chase anything because it's already here.
I like that.
We don't always feel it. And the reality is you're not always supposed to feel. That's not what this place is about in what I believe. I think we come here and we experience a lot of pain and that helps your soul grow. And so I have changed even my thought about, oh, you keep attracting narcissists. No, BS. Every single time, and I'm not inviting more of them, I'm just saying every time I've met one of these kinds of people, I am inspired to do great things out of the pain of that relationship, like start a podcast about mental health, like start a network of podcasts about mental health. This new one, I finally got through to some stuff around the film work that we do that I needed a little bit of a kick in the ass about. And guess what? This new one, thank you for all the stuff that you've done, because now that I'm free of the bondage with that person, I'm like, okay, this is the next level for me. I'm going to move into that direction that I've been hiding from. And sometimes I think we're hiding from it, or it's being kept hidden from us, because when you look at evil and not evil, dark and light, if you're someone that is all about the light and helping and serving other people, you can have stuff that tries to keep you from doing that work.
Yes.
And sometimes they show up as other people. So I have been really distracted for several months from being able to focus on what I need to do with this network. Now, COVID and all those other things have happened, but I have really been distracted by people from doing that stuff. And now that I've said, okay, no, I'm not distracted anymore. I feel like, oh God, all the months of I can't get out of bed, my feet hurt, whatever that I've fought against, that's all bye-bye.
Well, that's the point where you want to get to in life. And again, you and I have talked privately a lot about that. And that is my biggest problem. And I often wonder how much my childhood and my past experience affect my mindset today. Because it's like I'll have an idea. I've talked to you about a million of my ideas, and then right where I'm about to open the door and go through, I either allow something to distract me, or I don't take that initiative. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know what it is. I have a hard time motivating myself to take it to the next level, and I don't know what that is.
I think some of it is, you're obviously some of it could be self-sabotage in some way, fear of success in the old definition of success, which is obviously still hanging around for you, right?
Oh, obviously, yes.
And some of it, I'm telling you, is you do good things in the world. You have all of these components that I can see from the outside looking in that make you someone that people want to and are attracted to listening to, that help them. And so dark things sometimes that show up as people show up to keep you off your game. And they're always gonna. However, you have to get enough tools in your tool chest to not be kept off your game, to figure it out eventually and go, you're out. Just like, you've done over and over again with people.
Well, it's I give great advice. It's just it's just doing what I
it's hard.
I wish I could listen to myself.
It's, well, sometimes listening to, like, have you ever listened to the shows that we've done together?
I listen to the shows that you and I do together. Yes, I actually, I hate to say this, I don't often listen to the shows that I do.
I never do, man, ever.
Okay,
Like,
to
it
be
came
honest.
out my mouth. I've birthed it. It's done. I don't even, I mean, I do so many, but listen to when you're a guest on someone else's show, so you're in more of that advice giving mode, which you're so good at. Go back and listen to those shows. Listen to them again and again if you need to, so that you are constantly reminded of who you are and how powerful you are. I learned this too. If you state, I know who I am, you need to leave, meaning whatever, a person, some kind of dark negative energy, whatever it is. If you state, I know who I am, you know the rules, you need to leave, you will
Yes.
leave now. It does leave. Sometimes you got to say that quite a number of times, because maybe you're saying, I know who I am, instead of how I say it, I know who I am.
And yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
So it's practice. It's like the things that you say in recovery language, those things that you say about, you just keep doing it anyway. And you keep building those tools that keep you from drinking, keep you from doing drugs, whatever it is. Go to those instead of starting your beer-a-thon at 4:00 in the afternoon until you go to bed, go to an AA meeting. You know what I mean?
There are little things that when I used to give lectures, when I did work in the recovery field, and my main job was giving lectures, I would always, I had this getting out of bed, because believe it or not, you hear it all the time. I can't get out of bed. I just want to curl up and lay in bed.
Yep.
And I would tell people, listen, if it's as simple as deciding that you want to get up and touch the wall on the other side of the room. And they'd look at me like I was crazy. And I'd be like, think of all the steps you have to take. You have to take the covers off of you. You have to throw your legs off the bed. You have to stand up. Each step you take to that wall, that each step builds confidence, because now you're doing what you set out to do. And sometimes just doing that is enough motivation for you to start your day. I say that, and you don't know how many people that I don't even remember will message me and be like, you know what, just getting out of bed and touching the wall saved me today. Exactly. And here I am, and I can't even do it myself sometimes.
But that's okay. That's okay, though. That's the thing. It's like, I know that I'm not depressed right now, because believe me, I am an expert in knowing when depression has hit me, right? And I watch it around this time of year, because seasonal affective disorder has been something, for me my whole life too. But I know that I'm not depressed. But with all the COVID stuff happening, there have been days where I am getting stuff done, and the next day, it's not. I guess the difference is I don't have days where I can't get out of bed anymore. I have days where I don't want to, I don't feel like it, and so I am going to give myself a break, because there's so much going on that now it's a self-care thing. Do I spend lots of days in bed? No, I don't. But if I have a day where I'm like, I am overwhelmed, I can't deal with anything, I don't want to hear the news, I am going to just give myself a day off. And that is the difference. It's this, I'm still in bed that day. It isn't days and days and days and weeks on end, like it has been many times for me. It's a day.
Yes. And it's okay to take that time.
Totally.
It's like anything else, anything that gets repetitive, anything that becomes part of your everyday routine. That's where the problem sets in. Okay. And that itself becomes an addiction.
Yes.
That's what people don't realize. That's why I kind of left the field, and I'm kind of outed in the field, because I have a completely different view of addiction than most people do. Addiction is a daily habit, a habitual habit that you do day in and day out. And when every day part of your day is to obtain alcohol or drugs, that becomes your sole sense of purpose. So in a sense, by completing that task, your mind actually tells you that you've accomplished your goals today. So it's almost like a false self-fulfilling prophecy that, okay, I've done what I needed to do today. The obtaining the drugs and alcohol, the reaction that you get from that actually becomes secondary to actually going through the process of getting it. And that's addiction. It's an everyday behavior that just repeats over and over again.
And you have to find out, like I've had people say, well, I've stopped drinking because I hang out with you, and I don't need to go to counseling because I get counseling when I'm hanging out with you. And I'm like, oh my God. So when I leave, like if let's say I move or I don't want to talk to you anymore because it's too draining, or hell, I've got a big busy life and I'm in service to everybody on this network, so I don't want to give you any energy. You actually need to dig that up yourself or it ain't going to work. That's the thing. It's not going to work and it's not fair. And then it's not a friendship to put I don't drink anymore because of you, or I don't do drugs anymore because of you. It's like, you're still not taking responsibility for your own behaviors.
And that's a big part of the problem too. And I guess we could do a whole another show. But, they say from day one, you have to get clean. You have to change your life for you. But when your self-esteem is so low, like mine was, I got clean back in 2013. When my self-esteem was so low, I was unable to get clean for me because I had no self-respect. I had no confidence. I hated myself. So you have to put that on somebody else. You do. You have to have a reason.
Glad you're telling me that. Yeah.
The problem that I see all the time is, I got clean to be in this relationship, and then the relationship ends. And there's your excuse to go out and use again. There's your excuse to go to the bar.
Yep. I just got that laid on me. Well, because you haven't been talking to me, I started drinking again. Oh my God. Okay.
Right. Because you can't take responsibility for your own actions, so you have to blame somebody else. I used to say it all the time. Oh, well, this is your fault. This is, because of you. No, it comes to a point where you have to be able to say, this is the person I want to be. You know what? Not even this is the person I want to be, because I think that in itself, not knowing who you are, is difficult.
Right.
For me, it was a lot easier saying, this is the person I no longer want to be. I don't know who I'm going to be. Right. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know I don't want to be this person anymore. So anything I do other than what this individual did is good.
So let's go back to that piece. So isn't that the responsibility of a sponsor who signed up to do that with you? Or not responsibility, but just sort of like there's a contract there. I am going to help you as a sponsor to not drink or to not whatever. I'm signing up. I know what I'm in for. This is part of my active service. I'm signing up for that. Not unwittingly people that are around you that happen to be strong people that did not sign up for that with you. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And in an ideal world, you want to think that finding a sponsor will help guide you through. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm just going to come right out. I haven't been to a meeting in 5 years. Okay. I've been clean for going on 8. I haven't been to a meeting. I had a horrible experience with my sponsor. I'm not saying everybody does. I'm not saying all sponsors are bad.
Oh, I've heard horror stories too, believe me. Yeah.
But the thing is that a sponsor is not a trained professional. Okay. And I was a trained professional for years, and I don't even know how much help I was able to give other than just saying, hey, I'm clean, and that to me is another big problem, with the field. It's like I can't love somebody or care for somebody enough to get them clean. I can give advice. I can show them that, hey, I'm clean. I can show people, part of my big thing was, hey, my life is still a mess at times, but I'm still clean. So if I can get through the hard times, you can. But back to your initial question, a sponsor ideally should be there to help you. But I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, I called my sponsor, they didn't answer. or they told me to do this, this, and this, and it didn't work, so I picked up again. So again, the same thing
Right.
applies. When you
Right.
put your sobriety on anybody else, that person, everybody else at some point in life is going to let you down.
Yeah.
Whether intentional or if I need you, if I say, oh my God, I got to call Kristin, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and I call and your phone's off because you're asleep, what am I going to say? Oh, I picked up because you didn't answer your phone last night? That doesn't make sense.
Right. Exactly.
But yes, the unwilling people, the people that aren't educated, aren't familiar with the field of drugs, alcohol, and recovery, like just a friend. Like, hey, I'm going to hang out with you and I'm not going to drink. You're right. That person didn't sign up for anything. And then we talked about the whole narcissistic personality.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I see that in recovery a lot, because it's like, oh, so-and-so, did this, and I'm messed up because of it. No, you're messed up because you chose to
You're
get
messed
up.
up.
That
Yeah.
person has nothing to do with it, but you need the scapegoat to justify your actions to feel better about yourself.
Right. And I always think, what an opportunity to examine why people always dip out. Why either you're a victim of that all the time. And I mean, dip out in terms of you have a lot of relationships, you chase people, and they eventually, ones that you really admire, and they eventually go, that's it, I'm done. And they leave. That's such a great opportunity to go, well, I'm the common denominator here.
Well, yes. Yes, that's a very good point. I feel that self-confidence needs to be taught more.
Yes.
I tell everybody now, they're like, oh, what meeting should I go to? What rehab should I go to? Depending on who they are in their situation, part of me just wants to say, listen to a Tony Robbins video and go to a tech school, because you need to believe in yourself, and you need to have a goal. Like and that's a big part of the problem. You get clean, and then what? Then your full-time job becomes getting clean, but then you still have bills, and you still have relationships, and you still have children. Child support is a huge problem in recovery, and then you get hit with all these things, but then you're trying to tell everybody like, oh, well, my job is to get clean. Well, guess what? When the mortgage and taxes are due, they don't care that your job is to get clean. They want their money.
Right.
And then when you can't pay it, you get overwhelmed with life. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, all I have to do is pick up again. And then I can go to treatment for 3 months. I can live in a house, not pay any bills. I don't have any responsibilities or accountability, which is why you have a bunch of 30 and 40-year-old adolescents running around out there who don't know how to live, because the system allows them to just say, okay, well, you picked up, you used, so come on in. As long as you have insurance and can pay, you can live here.
Oh, wow. That is.
And there's no help.
Yeah, I totally see everything. Yeah, not that I need to see the type of narcissism that comes, looking for me now tend to be people that are, heavily and long time dependent on some kind of substance. So, and that has not always been the case. So this is kind of a new thing that I'm like, okay, what is this about? So it's people not wanting to live in reality. And I do want to live there. I constantly am striving to have that, see that, what's in my unconscious, how am I living unconsciously, bring that into the light, let me deal with it. So it's like what someone I work with, a healer counselor I work with, always says, you're just checking your work, Kristin. This is not a step back that this person is in your life. You are checking your work from other times where you've been with these kind of people, and they were far more destructive than this new one, far more destructive. And you didn't have you only could have as much closure as you could at that time with that person because of where you were at. It's resurfaced again because you need even more closure, and you're kind of checking your work. Are you behaving the same way you did way back when someone similar came along? No, you're not. Okay, gold star, move on,
Exactly.
Instead of, oh, horrible you, another one, which helps no one. That's why, in AA and different places that you go to, I'm not a big subscriber to AA either, but it works fantastic for other people. But that's why it doesn't help to shaming people for their pain and how they deal with it. That doesn't help anybody. It makes it worse.
Oh, it absolutely makes it worse. And that's, I've actually run into that real quick, because people who know that I'm not a fellowship 12-step guy, they'll try to get clean and they'll call me and be like, well, the 12 steps aren't for me either. And I'll be like, have you done them? That's always my first question. Have you done them?
Yeah.
Well, no, I haven't done them. I just know they're not for me. Okay. Well, I know they're not for me because I've done that. I went through the steps 4 times in AA. I went through the steps 4 times in NA. And guess what? I came to the realization that it wasn't for me. You can't just say it doesn't work for you. And that's the thing. People try to control their own recovery, and people try to get me to co-sign it. Everybody just wants to say, you don't need AA. You don't need, you do what I do. Well, no, it took me years and years and years to get to the point where I didn't need AA. I went to AA religiously for 2 or 3 years, 2 years. And then that's when I said, you know what? I simply made a promise to my daughter that I'm not going to drink again. And that was enough for me.
Right. If you do it for your kid, there you go. And you're also doing it for yourself because you're her father. But yeah, the co-signing thing. Yeah, that is fascinating. I see that too with, I don't need to go to counseling. I'd love to go to counseling. That would be great. Okay, then go. Well, I get my counseling from you and we're together. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. I did my counseling. I do my counseling. It's like someone, it's like what you just said. Oh, okay. So you're not going to go to counseling because you get it from somebody. Like, no, you don't get to piggyback on my work, and it wouldn't work anyway. You have to pick up the phone and find a counselor that works for you and do the work yourself. It's not a friendship. You're not capable of having a friendship. It's going to end, and you're going to blame that person and stop doing anything wonderful that they told you to do, because then you got to make everything about them bad because they got out of what's unhealthy because it wasn't a friendship for them. And then use that as your excuse to continue to not go to counseling or go to whatever. It's a cyclical, unhealthy yuck that we will continue to explore.
It is. And I will say this, when you are actively using, every decision you make is wrong. It is. I can't tell you, everything I tried to do, it ended up backfiring. So you lose that sense of confidence.
Right.
So I do understand I need somebody to help me because I don't trust myself mentality. But that's where I believe the field needs to change, because what it needs to do is promote self-healing. Start to believe in yourself again instead of relying on other people.
Yes.
Because again, people are going to leave. People are going to betray you. People are going to hurt you, whether it be malicious or not. It's going to happen. And if you're not prepared for that, there's your built-in excuse where I'm sick, I'm an addict, whatever. I can't do this on my own. That's why I never refer to myself as an addict. I don't even refer to myself as being in recovery. I'm just a guy that stopped using drugs 8 years ago.
Exactly.
I just want to be a normal guy. I'm not going to identify myself with something I did in my past.
Thank you. See, this is why you and I get along. I did 12-step Codependence Anonymous. I did 12-step NA. I did 12-step in another thing. It was poverty consciousness or whatever. I did all the steps on multiple things, and I could not have the words utter out of my mouth. Hi, I'm Kristin. I'm a codependent. I'm codependent, or every time I needed to take a shit, I wasn't going to say it, period, because it felt inauthentic. I'm not going to assign a word to and say that's who I am. No.
I joke about it and I laugh, and I think, we all used to wet our beds when we were babies. But
right.
I don't recall introducing myself to you and saying,
Joe, I'm a bedwetter.
I'm Joe, I'm a bedwetter. At what point do you have to cut ties from who you used to be?
Right. Exactly. Oh, okay. Listeners, we're going to do more shows, even if we're just doing them because it helps Joe and me. I hope you get something out of it too. Okay, Joe, quickly tell my listeners where they can find information about you. I know you have a Facebook group out there.
I have two Facebook groups out there. I just started one called Diary of a Depressed Dad, and yeah, I'm not up on it every week, but I post little videos about how I'm feeling, about what depression was like for me. It's called Diary of a Depressed Dad by JP Mitch. That's on Facebook. And the other one is Trauma Redefined, which is the podcast that we're going to be starting on the network. And that's Trauma Redefined with Kathleen and Joe.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, my friend. Listeners,
oh, no, this
thank
was
you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Exactly. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. And there will be more with Joe over the weeks to come. Hi, listeners. I'll make it quick. These are some really cool places that give discounts and other cool things for listeners of Mental Health News Radio Network. If you want to get amazing help with healing from narcissistic abuse, go to healfromanarcissist.com. If you want CBD products that are the best of the best, I use them myself, go to PROZE.com and use the code mentalhealth20, mentalhealth20. If you want to get daily perk ups that help retrain your brain to think more positively, go to perkupdaily.com. And also, just because this one's fun, snarkycandles.com. I guarantee you'll love them. Snarky with a Y, SNARKY candles.com. And don't forget, if you want to hear all the shows on the network about first responders, you can go to firstresponder.mentalhealthnetwork.com, and all of our shows that focus on narcissistic abuse, narcissisticabusehealingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
But will you ride the low, low, lows with me? Will you ride the low, low, lows with me?
One thing you can always count on at Mental Health News Radio Network and my show is that there will always be dogs around. Why? They are natural healers, excellent for your mental health. The original therapy dog Miles has something to say in just a moment. For now, please check out all of our amazing shows at mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com and all your favorite podcast apps. Until next time, I'm Kristin Sananta-Walker, and thank you for listening.
And I can ride the low, low, lows with me. I can ride the low, low, lows with me. Till my vision clears up perfectly. I can ride the low, low, lows with me.
Good boy.